Hi everyone, I'm so happy to see you all on my free lesson where I will tell you more about cabin crew life. And of course, I'm going to start from introducing myself. My name is Maria and I'm a former Emirates cabin crew, as well as I'm an HR and owner of the School for Future Flight Attendants, where I'm preparing you for each step of your assessment day. I've got 5 years in aviation, where I flew 4 years in economy and then 1 year in a business class. I visited more than 36 countries over the globe, and I'm super happy about that, and hopefully you will do the same very soon. I also have a lot of successful cases where my students got their dream job, mostly with Emirates, but of course with other airlines as well. More than a year ago, I resigned from Emirates and then I moved back to Ukraine and I started my own business, which is my Emmy Academy. I'm so proud for myself that I actually decided to do that, because lots of people are actually need this job and they are dreaming about that, and I'm getting them closer to their dream job. Watch this video till the end and I will give you a great checklist with the most asked questions during your final interview and some examples on how to answer them. So the first thing that we're gonna start with is, of course, where to apply. I usually get a lot of questions about that, so I decided to give you a hint about that. So it's going to be obviously not Emirates.com, it's going to be something else where you can find all of the careers that you can actually apply with Emirates, and it's going to be emirates.groupcareers.com. And now I'm going to show you how to apply. So simply go to emirates.groupcareer.com, then search for the cabin crew and then tap apply. Simple as that. Then you need to upload your resume and lots of other documents, but we're gonna talk about it a bit later. So the next thing that I wanted to highlight to you is the minimum requirements, who they are looking for. Each airline has their own ideal candidate portrait, and that's true. And let's talk about Emirates, and let's start from the minimum requirements that you need to fit. Fluency in English. Lots of people are actually asking me, what does it mean being fluent? Which level it is? Being fluent doesn't mean that you need to have C1 or advanced English level. It just means that you need to express yourself and be able to understand what the other people are saying to you. You can do it even with the A2 level, which is like pre-intermediate, then intermediate, obviously, and upper intermediate. So the main thing here is, if you're able to express yourself, if you're able to understand what the other people are telling you, that means that you're fluent. Let's talk about additional languages. So why it is said on the website that it is going to be an advantage. That's actually true. If you do speak some of the very popular languages like Italian, Spanish, French, Arabic, then you will have more chances to get this job. But obviously, if you do not meet the other requirements, or you show yourself as a not really trustable employee, your languages are not going to help you at that stage. So let's say if you're an ideal candidate for Emirates, plus you have lots of languages, then Emirates more likely to hire you than other people who just speak in maybe 1 or 2 languages. But if the other person is actually ideal for them, he speaks maybe 1 or 2 languages, but you showed some of the negative parts of you, obviously that they gonna hire them instead of you. So the bottom line here is, if you do speak lots of languages, is going to be a plus, but you also need to meet other requirements, and you also need to have the personality that they are looking for in their candidates. For that one, of course, you need to prepare yourself, you need to embrace yourself, and do whatever it takes to get the job. The next one is the natural team player and the personality that shines. That's actually one of my favorite requirements that you can find there. Why? Because each flight you're gonna have a different set of crew. It can be 27 people, different nationalities, different ages, different cultures, and you need to be able to work with them. So that's why you need to be a great team player. You need to adjust to a new environment and new people. So if you have that personality where you like to communicate with people, you're actually very positive, you're very open, you don't have a problem to talk with other people, this is not something you need to worry about. But if you're more like introvert, please pay attention on this one and do whatever it takes to open yourself and to show the best part of you. Let's talk about the personality that shines. You can shine with anything. You can find that in yourself. You just need to look for it. It can be your smile, it can be your appearance, it can be even your body structure, something like that. But also, it can be something that inside of you. Maybe it's your empathy, maybe it's your teamwork, or maybe it's your ability to help other people or to listen to them. Every single person is actually having something that they can shine with or stand out with. You just need to look for it inside you, and then, okay, this is the thing that I'm actually differ from other people. So find it in yourself and go with this thing on your open day. It will be a great plus for you. Okay, the next one is at least 160 centimeters. This is something that disappointed me a few times because I have a lot of students who is actually 160, but they didn't pass the reach test, or they couldn't reach to a 12 point, and obviously they were eliminated from the stage. So let's talk about it a bit more. Actually, if you are shorter than 160, then most probably you're going to be rejected, unfortunately. And it doesn't matter if you're going to reach 212 or not. This is how it works with Emirates. What can you do is maybe stretch yourself, maybe do some exercises, or maybe do your hair somehow, I don't know. If you're 160, 161, 162, train yourself at home to reach 212 point, so you will not have any problems with that on assessment days. You won't fail or maybe shake, something like that, because this is very important. The way you're going to be reaching it, it's also important, so you need to reach it very confidently. Why this 212 is there is just the height when the head tracks are that you need to close during the boarding, after the boarding, sorry. So yes, this is the main reason. And some of the safety equipment, sometimes they're in a head track, so you need to be able to open it and get what you need from the head track. But do not worry if you're actually 160 or a bit less. There is the airlines who doesn't have that criteria, 160 exactly. They only need you to reach 212, so you can practice at home and reach it somehow. And their airline is like Qatar, Etihad, Fly Dubai. They do not have like particular 160. But unfortunately with Emirates, they're very strict about that. And I've heard stories that sometimes it's not even 160, even 162, but the people didn't pass that stage, unfortunately. The next stage is to be able to meet the UAE's requirements. This is not something you should be worried about. This is the blood test and x-ray where they are checking for the diseases, but these diseases, they are very huge, so most probably you don't have them, hopefully, yeah. So this is not something you need to be worried about. And of course, 21 years old. Why is that? It's just because you are not allowed to serve alcohol if you're under 21 in Dubai. Since Emirates is the airline based in the UAE, this is their requirement. And as you know, on the Emirates flight, we have free alcohol, so you have to serve everyone with everything, including alcohol. So that's why this requirement is there. The next one is 1 year in hospitality or customer service experience. This is also the most asked question for me, from you, that I get almost every day. So it used to be additional. So maybe like half a year ago, it changed to a must. So if you do not have 1 year of hospitality or 1 year of customer service experience, you're not gonna get this job. No way. So please pay attention on your resume. It needs to be 1 year minimum. What to do if you don't have? Okay, there is two options. First one, of course, you need to go and get that hospitality or customer service experience. If you do not have that time or you don't want to wait for that, then you need to create one. Please don't tell them that I told you this. This is actually not the right thing to do, but what to do if it's your dream job? So if you're living in Dubai, obviously it's going to be very hard to create a experience. But if you're living abroad in Europe, in Ukraine, other countries, actually Emirates doesn't have the department that is going to be checking your background, like, oh, can you please confirm if Maria was working at your restaurant? No, this is not the case, and they don't have that resources, they don't have that time because so many applicants. The easiest experience to create is going to be hostess, by my experience, because there is not much to do at this position, not like waitressing or other stuff. So have a look on that experience. Okay, so the next one is the minimum of 12th grade high school. For Ukrainians is 11 years because we have 11 years. And then obviously if you have master or bachelor degree, this is the education certificate that you're going to present to them. So you don't need to bring all of your education certificate. One is enough, the latest one. So yes, but if you just finish your school, it's enough to apply for Emirates. No visible tattoo while in Emirates uniform. Also, there's a lot of people are asking me about the scars. Okay, let's talk about the tattoo first. So, Emirates uniform is not the jacket. Okay, we have a shirt right there, like this. Okay, so whenever you have on the open arms, let's say on your leg or somewhere in here, where it is visible why you are in Emirates uniform, this is not allowed, and you're not gonna get this opportunity to proceed to the next stage on your assessment day. If you have something underneath, let's say here or here, and it's covered by uniform, it is allowed to have that. Let's talk about the scars. See, they even removed the requirements, because it used to be before, yeah, no scars, no scratches, but not anymore, you know, because all of the people, we had something like me. I have, if you see right here, a small scar, and I was having that before, and it's at my face, so I didn't have any problem with that one. No one was looking at this. Of course, if it's too obvious, too big, then maybe they will ask you more questions, but especially when if it's covered by uniform, there will be no problems with that one. Also, I wanted to tell you about the 3 dots in your ears, you know. I was having that also before I got my job, and no one ever questioned me about that one. So this is allowed. Okay, the next thing is we're going to talk about is the difference between open day and assessment day. So let's start from the open day. You go again emiratescareers.com, you go for apply, and then you search for the country, search for the city, you look for the time and when the open day take place. After that, you just bring all of the documents with you, which is your CV, printed and digital one, your passport copy, and of course original passport, then your education certificate in English, also digital one, and also you will need to have a photo, but you won't need it for the open day. You might need it after that, because during the open day, before you reach the final interview, the recruiter is going to take a picture of you. Why is that? It's just because now they want to look at you in the real life. Yeah, so sometimes people they use a lot of Photoshop, so the Emirates recruiters in the headquarters in Dubai, they cannot actually properly evaluate you. So that's why they decided to do pictures during the assessment day to see how you're going to look like in the real life. But sometimes, the pictures were taken not really good, or maybe the quality wasn't nice. So they might call you and say, oh, can you please do a picture for us, this and this and this and that. And they will give you only 24 hours to do that. Or maybe if you live in Europe and it's weekend, you're not going to be able to do it because everything is closed. So that's why I encourage you to always have those pictures with you, and plus you need a proper picture for your resume. So you got all of your documents with you, and you can just walk in on the open day, give your CV, and wait if you're going to be chosen for the assessment. On the open day, any people can come. All right, so maybe they're like under 21 or above like 40, but still they're gonna have a chance to be a part of it for a little, So open day is just a walk-in for everyone. Assessment day is a different story. Assessment day, it's invites only. So if you go to emirates.com and you see on your city or in your country, it says invites only, that means that you need to apply online. So all of the steps like passport, CV, you need to upload all of the documents, you need to put your height, your weight, sometimes your experience even, and then wait for them to invite you to that assessment day. They also can review your application for a longer than it usually takes, 72 hours. Sometimes it's even more. So be patient and just wait. So if your resume passed the ATS and you met all of the requirements, you're going to be invited on the assessment day. Also, if you will see TBC on the date of your assessment day, let's say in your country, this means to be assigned. Yeah, so they don't know yet the place, they don't know yet the time. So they're gonna change it a bit later when they find out which place they're gonna do that assessment day. So also, sometimes the people, let's say you applied online, you got your invitation for the assessment day, but then they'll give you the dates and timing for the open days, which means that the process of open day and assessment day are totally same. All of the stages are the same. It's just open day, everyone can come in, and invites only people who applied online. Why in some of the countries there is only invites only? Okay, this is why, because let's say it usually happens in the eastern part of the world, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Ukraine was one of them as well. It's just because from those countries there is a lot of people are applying and they want to get this job, so they cannot afford to have on the open day more than, let's say, 300 people, 400 people. All right, so that's why they need to eliminate the people who are not meeting the requirements, the minimum requirements, or their resume is not good or didn't pass the ATS check. So only the people who actually more or less are suitable for this job are going to be invited. So they can, let's say, instead of 300, asked 60 people to come. So for the recruiter, it will be more easy to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the dress code. It's easy peasy. You just go to the website, you look at those pictures, and you dress exactly like that. Do not ask me, can I wear a blue blouse? Can I wear that or this? You know, I'm not the recruiter on your day, you know, so maybe she won't like it. Maybe she will think that you didn't even pay attention for the minimum requirements, and or maybe you disrespect their rules, or maybe she will like your blouse. So no one knows answer on this question, because I've seen people who were coming in a not really good outfit, but they were still passing to the final interview. That there is a case. But why would you risk it? You know, you don't want to be eliminated just because you were dressed not the way they want you to. So let's talk about the appearance of the girls. The main point is here knee-length skirt, the jacket that will be showing your waist. Your hair needs to be done, yeah, so like me, please do not go. The shoes, please do not wear the sandals, wear the closed shoes, yeah. Do not wear the flat shoes, wear medium heel or high heel. It's just because you're going to have the part of uniform is middle or high heels, yeah, while you're going in the uniform in the airport, so you will have to use the heels. You cannot go in flat shoes, unfortunately. So that's why they are giving you this requirement on their website. For the boys, I actually don't know anything about that. I only know that you need to be clear shaved, look very neat, you know. Also, if you're bald, I've heard that people who bald also just going like that on an open day and they are fine. Okay, let's talk about the pay and benefits, and also other benefits that you're gonna get with this job. So the salary, okay, so the salary is divided by two parts. The first part is your basic salary, which is like 4,500 approximately. It depends on your grade, of course, economy of business. It's in dirham, of course. And then the flying hours. So 1 hour now, I think it's 61 or 62 per hour, flying hours. In the months, we do from 80 to 100 flying hours, so you can count. Let's say if you weren't flying the whole months, you will just get your basic salary, which is 4,500. If you, let's say, were on vacation half of the months and you did only 50 or 40 hours, so you're gonna be paid your basic salary plus that 40 hours that you flew. So the average amount is approximately 3,000 US dollars. And of course, additionally, you will have so many benefits. First of all is tickets. Okay, you're gonna have one free ticket back home, which is confirmed, so you don't have to worry if you're gonna get in on the flight. This is for sure you're gonna fly, but you need to book it in advance, obviously. It's for you, for your husband, and for your child, yeah. So one ticket per year, totally free. You don't pay anything. Then you have 90% discount, unlimited, for any flight that you want to choose, for you, for your husband, and for your kids. For your parents, for your brother and sister, you're gonna have 2 tickets per year, 90% discount, and unlimited tickets by 50% discount. Accommodation. Let's say if you were living in Dubai and then you applied for Emirates and they got you in, they hired you. So you don't need to actually transfer yourself to accommodation. If you're living with your family, you're gonna be still continue living with your family, and they're gonna give you money. But I'm not sure which documentation you need to do for that one. If you're living abroad, of course, you're gonna first thing you're gonna come and you going to stay at the Emirates accommodation. It's totally free and it's only for you guys. The whole building is for the crew. Sometimes the building is like so many blocks, so you're gonna have such a great community around you. In the apartment is going to be 2 or 3 people, so it's nice if you have a nice roommate. Of course, if you have a bad one, then good luck. If you, let's say, if you're married and then you want to bring your husband with you in Dubai and then to live somewhere, there is an option for that one. So but your husband needs to have a visa in Dubai, working visa, not touristic visa. So he needs to work in Dubai to be able for you to get the accommodation allowance, which is also around 4,500 dirhams, which is quite okay to be living in Dubai. Also for the transport, it's totally free for you guys. You're gonna be picked up from the accommodation and they will bring you to HQ and back. If you're living outside the accommodation, they're gonna give you a money for the transportation, but not a lot, to be honest. It wasn't enough when I was taking that. You're gonna be having 30 days per year for your legal leave, and you can fly whenever you want, obviously with a 90% discount. And of course, you're going to have a really nice medical insurance. Okay, finally we're gonna talk about interview process. So the first stage is, of course, first group discussion, but before that, obviously you're gonna come and then you're gonna communicate with everyone and bring your CV to the recruiter for her to evaluate if you're fit or not. First group discussion. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna introduce ourselves. So we're gonna do a self presentation, and also we're going to be divided into 2 or 3 people, given some small tasks. Nowadays is what is your favorite destination and why sometimes, or maybe without why. You need to discuss it in a group and then do your presentation and answer the question of the recruiter. The main point here is to be able to present yourself very nice and confident, and also to follow the rules of the recruiter. This is the secret of the first group discussion. If you want to know more, come to my full course where I'm telling all of the secrets and tips for you to get to Emirates from the first attempt. If you're able to pass the first group discussion, then the next one is going to be a reach test. And also they're gonna check if you have tattoo or scars or whatever it is. Second group discussion, my favorite one, because I believe this is the hardest part that you can face during Emirates assessment day, because there is a lot of stuff you need to think about. There is a checklist that recruiters are following. Each and every step right there you need to get. So basically, there is a positive and negative qualities that you might show or not show to the recruiter, and she going to be ticking those stuff right next to your name or number. So this is the hardest part, and also working in a team, different people that you actually met for the first time, it can be very challenging for some people, but don't be scared. If you don't want to prepare yourself with my course, then their tips for you is just to be yourself, be very polite, be very friendly, listen to other people, what they're saying, and just try to put the value into your group. And remember that there is no right or wrong answer. The point of this assessment for you to get to one answer together, right? So recruiter will be looking on how you all gonna reach the agreement. This is the main thing here, so pay attention on this one. Also follow the minimum rules, like do not interrupt, do not raise your voice or stuff like that. English test. Okay, some of the people are scared about this part because actually you need to have at least B2 level to reach that one, and sometimes there is a word in the test that is from C1 or advanced English level. So you need to be well prepared for this one. Sometimes it might be hard. I had a few cases when the girls actually didn't pass the English test before they come to my course, so we were working on that one. So now what I can offer you, this is two things. Or you can just search in the internet, what do you need to know for B2 level of English, which topics, grammar topics. Or you can come on my another course, which is dedicated only for the English preparation test. Yeah, it's called Wings of English, and it's really nice, and all of the examples there is dedicated to aviation. This course were actually created on a base of the tests that were given for you, for my students, on the assessment day. So it is proper program for you to prepare. So you don't need to search for anything. There is all the topics you need to know. There is a similar tests and actual tests that I took from TikTok and from everywhere else for you to know more about this English test. So if you want that, let me know. The next step is going to be taking pictures. As I already said, the recruiter is going to take the picture of you before the final interview. The main thing here that you need to remember, that you need to look perfect. So for you to look perfect, please bring the makeup with you. Yeah, so you all the time need to make sure your makeup is well, good during the whole assessment day, because this is how you're gonna show to the recruiter that even after 14 hours flight, you're gonna be looking perfect. And of course, the final interview. For me, it's the easiest part because as I'm an HR, I know everything about the final interview. I know why this question is being asked, what they want to know, what they want to hear, and what to do and how to behave. But it is the hardest part for you to prepare because there is so many questions that you actually need to prepare. In my course, there is at least 25 questions. They are all different, so there is nothing that you can actually answer like two questions in one answer. No, not like that. All the situations are totally different. All the questions are totally different. And yeah, at least 25. If you have less than 25 or 20 questions prepared, then you are not prepared. So what you need to do is just go and search what is the most asked questions during the interview, job interview, especially in aviation, and try at least to know what to expect. But also, if you were preparing like 50 or 100 questions, please do not do that, because you can see that some of the questions, they're very similar, and you don't need to have each situation on each questions. Yeah, so you're gonna just put some trash inside your head, and then you can be confused during your final interview. So 25-30 questions prepared, perfect. Tips for you for the final interview: also be yourself, just relax. If you see that the recruiter is asking you a lot of questions after she asked one, let's say she asked you, tell me about yourself, and then she's like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Or what do you mean by that? This means that you are not providing her a right competencies, a right answer, and you're going in another direction. So please change the right direction. Listen to the recruiter. think why she's asking, what she wants from me, and what do I need to answer on this question. If you do not understand the recruiter on the final interview, you just simply ask, I'm so sorry, but can you paraphrase it? It's normal and it's not a mistake and it's not something that you can be rejected from, because the recruiter, she understands that English is not your first language and sometimes there is difficulties in speaking or understanding other people, especially if they are like natives. And mostly recruiter, they are from like England, Australia, something like that. Also, if she asked you a question and you don't know the answer yet, or you are confused what to answer, you simply ask her, I'm so sorry, would you mind to give me 5 seconds? I need to think about that. The recruiter will obviously give you enough time. She'll tell you, take your time. Here's some tips for your assessment day that I think it will be very useful. So have a look on that one. And I would like to say thank you for all of you guys for being here with me. I'm so happy to provide all of the necessary information for you and answer all of this question that you are worried about. So if you have more questions, feel free to contact me on the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, on any platform that you can find me here in comment, and I will do another video or I will just text you back and try to give as much advice as I can. So let's stay in touch. It was a pleasure. Hopefully it will help you on your way to your dream job. See ya.